Hello everyone. Uh, Today we'll be discussing another topic, that is Apache helicopters. It is very important for UPSC and other competitive examinations. And recently, 3 to 4 days back, this thing was in news. Right. So Apache helicopter is a military helicopter, attack helicopter. Indian Army as well as Indian Air Force have inducted these type of aircrafts. Right. So it's highly important, and we'll discuss regarding this. Okay. So as far as news is concerned, you might see this, like Army finally gets 3 of the 6 Apache attack helicopters. Means Indian Army has ordered, and now it is receiving. Okay. So we are receiving these from US basically. Right. You can see this date, July 22, 2025, is like hardly some, a week back, right? So highly important. And uh, just going into further details, you can see Indian Army has received the first batch of AH-64E. These Apache helicopters are called as AH-64E Apache attack helicopters, and there is another name for it. It is popularly called as tank in the air. Means like tanks that are actually used in the battlefields. Tanks play a major role in the battlefield, right? They turn the battles to someone's one side's favor if effectively used. So therefore Apache helicopter is something called as tank in the air because of its so much, various kind of capabilities. And these helicopters were formally inducted on July 22. Means that on 22 itself we have received it, and again they were inducted into the army following their arrival at Hindon Air Force Station near Delhi. So Hindon Air Force Station is a military air force station. There these helicopters have been delivered, right? So just looking into it, uh, this actually the delivery had been delayed by over 15 months, right? Already, like these have, last year itself the helicopters were supposed to be in India, but somehow there was a 15-month delay. And we can see now that the helicopter is being delivered. So this is a cargo plane, right? Antonov. And from that cargo plane we see the helicopters are coming out, right? Just a view of what Apache helicopter looks like. Next, having an overview, why is it important, right? The Apache helicopter is a state of art twin turboshaft attack helicopter. So it's having a two helicopter, like two levels of helicopter blades, twin turboshaft, right? So twin turboshaft attack helicopters used extensively by United States. Basically this type of helicopters are used by United States and its allies, like European countries and such. But it is developed by Boeing, we know it's very popular. So earlier it was called as McDonnell Douglas, when very way back, but as of now it's part of Boeing. Therefore Boeing has developed it. Right. The Apache is widely considered most lethal and technologically most advanced attack helicopters for warfare. Right. It is specially designed for close air support. It's not like, see, when we go with fighter airplanes, they fire from very long range, very high altitudes. Planes fly very high, right? They don't come very close to the ground, but helicopters having a unique feature that they can come very close to the ground. Therefore close air support can be provided, anti-armor operations and high intensity conflicts can be tackled by this particular Apache helicopter. But again, it is capable of operating day and night. See, a lot of time helicopters can operate only daytime, because nighttime they don't have the visibility, because they are very close, they fly very close to the ground, and lack of visibility can definitely be a challenge. Therefore in all weather conditions Apache helicopter can work. These are the basic features, right? And coming to the other features, like what other things does this helicopter is having. Its first thing is having advanced sensors and targeting systems. Right? What is this advanced sensors? It is equipped with the modern avionics, like a longbow radar system, Now, what is this longbow radar system? It enables the helicopter to track and engage multiple targets, not only one target. At the same time, it can hit multiple targets, that too in real time. So that's what is a longbow radar system. Then next you have is a night vision sensors. Means even in the night time, the helicopter can fly seamlessly without any problem. Again, laser range finders are there, infrared systems are there. All these combinedly, they allow the effective operation even in the complete darkness. So that's the another capability, right? Therefore advanced sensors and targeting systems are there. You can see in the image, uh, you can see the main rotor over here, right? Twin turbo shaft engines, like one engine on this side and another engine on that side. So twin turbo shaft engines are there, right? Then uh, different types of rocket launching hellfire missiles, landing gear, pilots night vision, right? Sensor turrets. So a lot of features are there. You can just have a look on that. Then in continuation, what we see is that even more features, like lethal firepower. It carries a very huge firepower, a lot of gun power as well as missiles, variety of missiles. What are they? So basically a 30 mm M230 chain gun is there. Then apart from that, AGM 114 Hellfire anti-tank missiles are present. So AGM 114, what is it? It is an anti-tank missile. And apart from that, you have Stinger air-to-air missiles are also there. So you can, with AGM missiles, it can target the ground based targets. In using the Stinger air missile, it can basically target targets which are flying in the air, like maybe other helicopters or maybe other planes, something. Then apart from that, they are also this helicopter is also having Hydra 70 rockets. So all these different combinations make it effective against tanks, vehicles, and even fortified positions as well. So it can even blast forts as well, right? Very strong capabilities. And apart from this, we see there are a lot of survivability and agility features as well. Now, what this means, it's built with crash worthy components, means very strong, heavy built, and also equipped with self sealing fuel tanks. Self-sealing fuel tanks, those are helpful in the times of crash, that there might not be huge blast or such thing. Self-sealing fuel tanks, ballistic tolerant blades, so even though if they are hit by some sort of missiles, they can tolerate it to some extent, right? So ballistic tolerant blades. And again, composite rotor systems, right? The way rotation motors are working, and which make it highly survivable in combat. So in the combat scenario, it can, even if it is faced with attack from the enemy, it can handle such attacks. And apart from that, networking is also very important, because it's also called as the guardian, includes capabilities like even controlling drones. So when the helicopter is flying, it can also coordinate with other drones, right? Controlling drones and coordinate with other aerial and ground units seamlessly. So on the ground, army units might be there, in the air other drones might be there, other helicopters might be there, or other planes might be there. All these things, because of this data networking, it can effectively communicate with all these things and work in real time conditions. That's also an added feature of this particular helicopter, right? Now, how and when India did start acquiring these helicopters? For that, past and present, we'll just have a look. Actually, in 2015, Indian government signed a deal for 22 Apache helicopters. They were actually meant for Indian Air Force, right? Indian Air Force. And again, these were delivered between 2019 and 20. So in 2015, a deal was signed, 22 Apache helicopters, and they were also delivered by 2019 and 20. That's for Indian Air Force. But currently, what we see in 2020, again another deal was signed. Now this time Army, it's not Air Force. This time Indian Army placed order for 6 additional Apache helicopters. And these are intended to support army specific missions. Now this is not for no, this is not for Indian Air Force. The current news that we are seeing, the 3 Apache helicopters being delivered, they are for army specific missions, right? So already Indian Air Force is having, they are operable, but now army is receiving these helicopters, such as it can also have a high altitude warfare, armored thrusts and counter insurgency operations, which are very 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 needful for our for our strategic requirements, right? Then transport and acquisition, how these planes are actually transported. You can see Apache helicopters are actually manufactured in Mesa in Arizona, USA by Boeing. This already we have seen, but specifically in Arizona, in Mesa, right? Then again they are shipped in partially disassembled form. Now partially disassembled means generally fan is being removed, because if fan or blades, they take a lot of space, so generally blades are removed and some other components are removed which are removable, right? And then later on it's not completely disassembled. You can see in the first slide. So using a military or commercial cargo. So after partial disassemblement, they are being cargoed to India or maybe other countries. Now you can see like C-17 Globemaster 3. You can see the plane. It belongs to Indian Air Force. Right, it's a transport plane, heavy, and it can even transport a lot of tanks and other things. So even we have used this particular aircraft to transfer or to transport Apache helicopters to India in the past. And later on, currently what we see is that Antonov AN-124. Antonov, there are two variants. 225 is a very big plane, but now here only a smaller plane. Smaller in the sense, for cargo capabilities is very big, but there is another bigger version also. So Antonov 124 plane is being used currently to deliver the Apache helicopters to Indian Army, right? Now Hindon Air Base already we have seen, but apart from Hindon, Jodhpur air bases are also there, where in the past helicopters have been delivered. So upon arrival at bases like Hindon or Jodhpur, they are assembled, tested and inducted into service after ground and flight trials, right? So these are the transport planes, and we have seen information regarding induction as well. Now comparison with other Indian attack helicopters. Now see, India is also having various other helicopters as well, right? Now why Apache? Why do we need this Apache helicopter? Where it actually fits in? So if we see, Apache is basically a multi-role heavy attack helicopter. Multi-role is not, is that it's going to perform various varied types of roles that we have seen in the previous slides. But apart from Apache, what helicopters do we have? First we have a HAL Rudra. HAL is like Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, right? It's in Bengaluru. So HAL Rudra is actually a weaponized version of Dhruv utility helicopter. Now, this Dhruv utility helicopter is also manufactured by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. It is indigenously made within India, and these helicopters, utility means for transportation, equipment, and all these things. Utility helicopters are not for war, right? So this Dhruv utility helicopter has been modified with machine guns, and some missiles are being added, and that modified version of Dhruv utility helicopter is called as HAL Rudra. Right. Now this Rudra is useful for light attack roles, smaller, in small scenarios, light attack roles. What we have is the Rudra helicopter, right? Now apart from Rudra helicopter, the second thing that we have is light combat aircraft, LCH. Now this is also made by HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, and this helicopter is called as Prachanda. Right, this Prachanda is the indigenous helicopter. Again, see, as we've been seeing, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. So the Prachanda helicopter is also developed in India, and it is suited for high altitude warfare. It's not a light, even though it's called as a light combat aircraft. It can fight in high altitude. See, why we require high altitude? Because of the India's strategic locations, like LOC, line of control, and line of actual control. These things, they lie in mountainous regions, in Himalayas. They are very high. So very high altitude, right? Yes or no? So because in such scenarios we have to fight the enemies in very high altitudes. Therefore we require helicopters having these capabilities. So Dhruv or Rudra, they are not suitable for flying in high altitude situations. Therefore light combat helicopters like Prachanda is the main source, or the main, or the first line of attack system, right? They can fly at high altitude warfare in the locations like Siachen, Ladakh. Yes. So it has stealth features as well. Now, stealth feature is something which makes it hidden, right? Enemy cannot notice it or cannot find it very easily. All right. So stealth feature also there. Narrow fuselage and ability to operate in low oxygen environments. See, when we go to higher altitudes, the oxygen composition in the air decreases. The way, like, as we go higher and higher and higher, the oxygen composition of the air actually decreases, because these are high altitude warfare, Siachen or else Ladakh, right? Line of control or line of actual control, these are actually high altitude places, right? Therefore it's an important feature that they should be able to operate in a low oxygen environments, so that our pilots can fight better, right? Therefore this HAL Prachanda, right? HAL Prachanda is having all the features, but it is not that much heavy. It's a light combat aircraft, right? It doesn't carry as many weapons as Apache carries. Therefore then that's where we require Apache helicopters. Now Apache will serve as the second line of attack helicopters, where Prachanda is the first, right? So whenever helicopter use is required, we'll first try to use Prachanda, right? Because it is indigenously made, it's our own, right? And therefore first line of attack we have Prachanda. But again, if situation is more demanding and more dangerous, therefore in such situations we'll go for the second line of attack, that is the Apache helicopters, which is highly costly, made in United States. We are importing it. Therefore we don't want to rely primarily on this helicopter, but whenever situation demands, definitely we have a second line of defense, right? Therefore I hope you understood the importance and various other helicopters. Now next, what is the strategic importance for India, right? Because with the addition of Apache helicopters to Indian Air Force, or recently to Indian Army as well, what is happening? Force multiplication. Already we have a set of defense capabilities. In that defense capabilities, we are having now additional feature. Therefore, this Apache helicopters enhances India's ability to conduct offensive and defensive operation. Offensive is something we attacking first. Defensive is something somebody has attacked and therefore we are defending it. So offensive and defensive both actions can be handled, and again along with the western or the northern borders. Therefore it is highly essential. Second thing is mountain warfare. Because of altitude, always warfare most of the time is a mountain warfare. So Apache's combat capabilities at high altitudes are crucial in areas like Ladakh and Siachen Glacier. Therefore another strategic importance. Then third thing is interoperability. Now the advanced systems on Apache allow better integration with other platforms. Now other platforms here means other aircrafts, or maybe ground based tanks, right? Ground based army units, or maybe other flights, or you can say the way we discussed just before, drones and etc. So drones, fighter aircrafts, so enhancing the network centric warfare, that's highly important. Then deterrence is also there. Simply having this particular aircraft, it sends a strong message to our enemies. It sends a strong message to our enemies that India is growing its air assault and anti armor capabilities. If an enemy wants to attack India, he has to think twice or thrice, or after Operation Sindoor he has to think 10 times before attacking India, because India's capabilities are way high, right? So therefore definitely the strategic importance is there. And apart from that, what we see conclusion is that the induction of Apache helicopters represents a major step in India's efforts to modernize armed forces. We definitely need to modernize our armed forces time to time, right? So it's not like 60s or 70s or 80s. Every time we are upgrading it. Earlier we had sought the help of Russia, but currently what we see is we are actively taking the help of US and other European countries. Like Rafale jet, we are importing it from France, and this particular type of Apache helicopters we are importing it from US. So in the past we actually depended on Russia a bit more, Soviet Union, USSR or Russia, but currently we are diversifying. We are even though we are continuing strong cooperation with Russia, we are also now cooperating with or we are also developing our defense ties with the Western countries, specifically Europe and USA, right? Therefore, because of such diplomatic efforts, because of such powerful aura of India, we see that countries are coming forward and they are having a defense deals with India, and every time we are updating our arsenal. So here induction of Apache helicopters, it definitely represents a major step in India's efforts. Now efforts means what? Diplomatic efforts, military efforts, and all the upgrading efforts and all these things, and modernizing its armed forces. So we want to build a capable, responsive and mobile military force. Now mobile military force means what? We don't know when an attack happens. At the instance of attack we should be ready, right? So army should be mobile, therefore modernize according to the current needs, right? This is one thing that we are seeing in progress. Apart from that, second what we see is the integration with indigenous platforms like Prachanda. Because see, Apache helicopter is a foreign helicopter, foreign made thing. Most of the time there will be some technical issues, but see, the Prachanda helicopter in India is one of the finest helicopters, and it is also having superior quality. It is also having superior quality of network systems, and because of which the Apache helicopter can easily connect. Therefore integration is happening, right? Integration with indigenous platforms like Prachanda, so they can work. They can the both helicopters, Indian helicopter Prachanda and these Apache helicopters, they can work as a team, as we have just discussed regarding networking capabilities. So Prachanda is also having good capability, therefore this networking can easily happen. And apart from that, the Apache helicopters avionics, or they were also tuned to our needs, our requirements. So that's where integration is something called as integration with indigenous platforms reflects the balanced approach. Now, India should follow definitely a balanced approach. Now what is this balanced approach? Means combining strategic imports with the domestic defense capabilities. See, we cannot solely depend completely on foreign countries or foreign companies. We have to develop our own capabilities. So on one hand, while we are developing our own defense capabilities, then at the same time we are also importing such helicopters or planes or equipments from foreign countries, so that there should be a balance, right? It's not completely tilted that we only depend on ourselves, or it's not completely tilted that we are completely depend on foreign powers. It's not like that. So we are maintaining the right balance which is required. Then apart from that, we see as the tensions remain high on multiple fronts, because recently we have been seeing the way during the COVID period, just after the COVID period, we saw that China India standoff was happening, and recently Operation Sindoor and these things. So therefore tensions remain very high on multiple fronts. So one front is with Pakistan, and another front is with China, right? Therefore we have multiple fronts which should we where we should definitely protect, or we should be capable of doing handling such situations. Therefore tensions remain high on multiple fronts. We see the Apache adds a sharp edge to India's combat readiness. So instantly India, definitely our army is doing great. they're ever ready, but this thing adds to their capabilities and to their combat readiness as well, right? So hope you understood the topic, right? I have included most of the important details regarding this. Hope this the explanation was helpful. Thank you.